Howdy everyone, my name is Peyton Jerzombek and I'm doing my presentation over the increase in severity of weather affecting Apis mellifera foraging bees. To introduce my presentation, as important pollinators in many agricultural systems and ecosystems, Apis mellifera, also known as honeybees, mostly depend on environmental cues such as temperature, humidity, and floral availability to find and collect food sources. Their foraging habits are directly impacted by weather, which affects both their survival and the well-being of the ecosystems they sustain. For example, extreme weather events such as heavy rain, prolonged droughts, and temperature fluctuations can limit the availability of nectar and pollen, reducing foraging efficiency. My question is, how do honeybees adapt their foraging strategies in response to severe weather events? So a little background on foraging honeybees. Foraging honeybees are worker bees that leave the hive to collect food for their colony. They gather nectar from flowers, which they turn into honey and pollen, which they use to feed the baby bees. Bees communicate with each other by dancing to tell others where to find food. They are most active when the weather is warm and sunny, but they don't forage in the rain or strong winds. Bees can fly several kilometers from the hive and use landmarks in the sun to find their way back. They play a key role in pollinating plants, which helps both the environment and agriculture. So here I have a graph, and this graph is showing bee digress rate, which is the blue. The temperature is red, and the solar radiation is the yellow-orange filled. This day that is being shown in the graph began with cloud cover until shortly after 11 a.m. Immediately after the clouds cleared, it indicated by solar radiation, then temperature. There was an increase in the solar radiation, and the bees began to leave the hive at an increased rate. So you can tell in the graph that once the clouds left and it was sunny, the bees were then able to leave the hive, the foraging bees, because they do succeed in sunny weather. This graph explains an overwintering survival and the prediction analysis. So the site that I used was over production of winter survival with the bees. So it describes the relationship between the degree days, which is along the x-axis, and the probability of overwintering survival, which is on the y-axis. In both the plots, the black line represents the modeled relationship between survival and the variables, while the blue shows a spline smoothed fit. So this graph is basically showing how winter is going to affect the bees pollinating. This next graph is of precipitation. So honeybees will not fly in heavy rain or high winds, or if the temperature is too extreme. But this graph shows how the rain can also positively affect the foraging habits of honeybees, just because rain helps flowers grow and flourish, which then goes into pollinating, which is helpful for the foraging bees who are then using that pollination to go and make honey. So this extreme weather, not necessarily extreme, but the rain is also very helpful to the bees. So how do honeybees adapt their foraging strategies in response to severe weather events? Honeybees adapt their foraging strategies in response to severe weather events by adjusting when and how they forage, depending on the conditions. During extreme weather, such as heavy rain, cold temperatures, or strong winds, bees will typically stay inside the hive and reduce foraging activity. They rely on their stored honey and pollen to sustain the colony during these times. They will not fly in heavy rain or high winds, or if the temperature is too extreme. Honeybees forage during daylight hours, but are equally active on cloudy or sunny days, but are more active on sunny days when the UV is higher. In conclusion, The increase in the severity of weather pattern poses a significant threat to the Apis mellifera, foraging behavior, and overall colony health. As you could see in the graphs that I showed earlier, the extreme weather does hurt the honeybees. Extreme weather events such as heavy rainfall, droughts, temperature fluctuations, and storms disrupt the delicate balance of foraging activities. These environmental stressors not only affect the availability and accessibility of food sources, but also limit the bees' ability to maintain the necessary foraging patterns that sustain their colonies. Moreover, the combined impacts of erratic weather and changing climate conditions may further stress the already vulnerable pollinator populations, exacerbating declines in the bee numbers and agricultural productivity. So, to shorten all of this up, the weather and the severity of the weather is going to impact the bees no matter what, but they do have behaviors that will help them and they get through it. And here's my works cited.